business operates like farming. All business operates like farming. That just like in farming, whatever you do, let's just use the months of January. In January, February, March, whatever you do in January, February, March, you don't see those. You don't see the reaping of that until April, May, June. So so sometimes what will happen is entrepreneurs will get really gung ho on, I'm gonna kill it January, February, March. I'm doing my thing. It's going great. They take a like I think this must how be how things gonna keep going, and then they take a break in April and May, and that you may not feel that in June, but come July, August, you're feeling the repercussions of not sowing the seed from the previous season. So I've learned that if you always sow seed, you'll always have a harvest. So that's in your marketing, in your follow up, in your doesn't matter if you got recurring revenue strong. Doesn't matter if you got leads out the wazoo. It doesn't matter what is happening right now in your business. You need to be farming and acting like there's nothing coming in every month.
100%. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree any more with that. That's powerful stuff. It's funny. The other day, I listened to the Russell Brunson show for a split second, and in that, he was sharing a very similar message about how it is that he spent however many years in his business doing this sowing of the seeds and everything, and now it's kind of in a period of time where he's realizing like when he wanted to go promote something, he hasn't sown seeds for the past couple of years, and he's like, wow, this is interesting. And so I bring this up because I'm interested in knowing about your strategy for sowing seeds in your business and in your life.
Absolutely. Oh man. So there's so many ways that we do it, but I'll start with from a natural standpoint. I'm constantly in live events like where we met. I'm constantly meeting and connecting with great minds like yourself, and so that's one of the strong areas that um, I make sure that I'm sowing seed is building relationships. Relationship to me is everything in business. I think relationships are the key. So relationships, building in masterminds, connecting with like-minded people, and just generally building relationships. I'm constantly building relationships, constantly following up in my phone on how can I add value to the relationships that I meet. So that's one of the first areas that I'm sowing seed. The other area that I'm sowing seed is through our email marketing. Right, we're staying on top of that. You know that's a seed machine, a seed sowing machine. So we're constantly trying to stay abreast with our list and add to that list on a regular basis, add value. And then the third layer is advertising, right? So we're running ads. We're staying in people's faces with remarketing and retargeting and constantly. So if you have those layers, I like, so essentially an in-person layer, a warm layer, and a cold layer, right, where I'm constantly sowing seeds in all those different areas. I believe there's a Bible verse in Ecclesiastes is like, you know um, keep sowing because you don't know where your harvest is going to come from. I'm paraphrasing that your harvest can come from any one of those, or maybe multiple areas of one of those. So that's how I practice it in my daily life. Is just making sure I'm sowing in various areas.
I love that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of amazing ways of sowing seeds in the current time. How about we take a step back and go back to when you first started? How was it that you were kind of getting in the rooms with the people that you were ultimately going to be able to serve when you first started?
Yeah, great question, man. So I'll never forget, that also stemmed from relationships, right? My first um set of clients, first ever set of clients, came through a relationship. And I tailor that back to mentorship, right? So one of my first mentors, paid mentors, I'd say, was Peter Voog, who runs the Game Changers Academy. So shout out to Peter. And he said, "Hey, you want to grow your business, you want to get better at what you're doing, you have to get into speaking. You need to join the Toastmasters in your local city." And so I joined Toastmasters. And out of joining Toastmasters, met this incredible gentleman. Shout out to Chuck Zrambo, who had a consulting firm for automotive clients that have like shops, repair shops, and and me and Chuck just built a relationship, and he found out what I did, and he said, "Hey, come in and just share what you do." And I'm still working full time in corporate America, I'm not necessarily um like I don't have a lot of clients at the time. I probably had one or two. And he was like, yeah, just come share. And I was just coming to share just to teach these guys. And it's funny, right? God put on my heart. He gave me this word, that you need to, before this even happened, that you need to prepare for increase. And I didn't really understood. I didn't really understand what that meant back then when he said it. But essentially now I know it's like prepare for, if you had an overflow, if you had an influx, um, what would you do to prepare? You get team members, you get, systems and organization. So I say that to the listeners listening to this, that you should prepare for increase. As if, what if 100 clients come to you tomorrow? What strategy, what system do you have, or even 10, right? So back to the story. Um, I present, and Chuck said, "Hey man, the business owners loved what you had to share. What's your offer?" I was like, I don't have an offer. I just came to teach, right? Isn't that what they want? He's like, no, you need an offer. Put an offer together. I'll pitch it to, we'll pitch it to them, and see who takes upon it. And I pitched the offer, and this is about 12 people, right, that heard the offer. Six of them took the offer right off the
Oh
bat.
my.
And this is a monthly recurring offer, right, agency offer. I was like, oh, wow. I wasn't prepared for that, right? So that's why, um, it's important to be prepared. So that's what started things for me. Was I was thrown into the fire, man. I was working 8 hours on my job, right? And I always talk about the grind. I always talk about the process. And I recommend this book called, "Caught Between a Dream and a Job," if anybody's in that position, right? By Dr. Delatore McNeil. I read that book, and I was working in the morning. I was working on the business 5 to 8, 8 to 9. I'm commuting. 9 to 12, I'm handling the job. 12 to 1, I'm taking appointments for my business. 1 to 5, I'm honoring the job. 5 to 6, I'm commuting, still taking calls. 6 to 8, I'm having dinner with my wife. 8 to 12, I'm working on the business. If you calculate that up, that's 8 hours on the job, 8 hours on the business. That was my life for 6 months. And that's what I did to eventually, and then we eventually transitioned into working Kingdom social media full time.
If you want to save time on watching all the episodes, but still get all the gold nuggets that we find from interviewing these 7, 8, and 9 figure entrepreneurs, then you can get all of that inside of the 2 Comma Club newsletter. Just go to 2ccnewsletter.com and subscribe.